Welcome to the Get the Lead Out of Drinking Water program, developed by the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services.
All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. We still have some folks joining the meeting and we'll let them in. But welcome everyone to the Get the Lead Out of Drinking webinar. We're very happy that you took the time to join us today, and hopefully we'll provide you with some good information about the lead in drinking water testing that's required at schools and childcare facilities in New Hampshire. I've had some people ask me, is this a legit program? I've gotten a phone call or an email from the Get the Lead Out of Drinking Water program. What is this program? So many of you probably have gotten phone calls and emails from the program. And the program was started to provide support and technical resources for schools and childcare facilities doing lead and drinking water testing. This was started by Department of Environmental Services, and we are working closely with New Hampshire Departments of Education and Health and Human Services to support the program. We're also trying to provide general lead education to residents across New Hampshire. And we'll get into this more during the presentation, but there are free sampling and laboratory analyses that are available to public schools and licensed childcare facilities in New Hampshire. And there's also technical resources that are available to all schools and childcare facilities. And really the point of the program is to reduce children's exposure to lead through their drinking water at schools and childcare facilities. And so really is so important that we're all doing this testing. And so thank you for taking the time to participate. And so with that, I will turn things over to Victoria, who will talk more about the program.
Hi, thanks, Leanne. Thank you for having me here, everybody. I'm super excited to be here. So let's just get started with some background. So because lead is tasteless, odorless, and colorless in drinking water, testing is really the only way to know if lead is present. So House Bill 1421 was signed last month, July 2022. It is an amendment expanding on the updates from Senate Bill 247 from February 2018. Now, both of these are underneath the overarching state law called RSA 485, requiring schools and licensed childcare facilities test each drinking water outlet that could be used for consumption by children. We want to sample that for lead. So today I'm going to review some of the key changes that was made to this legislation, what a facility's responsibilities are under this updated law, and give a little bit more on the Get the Lead Out of Drinking Water program before handing it over to the panelists. So this is a high-level overview of the 4 changes we're going to review today, and we will go into more detail for each of these on the following slides. First, facilities are now required to do 3 rounds of sampling between that initial 2016 start date and June 30th, 2024. And just as a reminder, facilities should sample all outlets that children could be consuming from. So these are drinking fountains, classroom sinks, kitchen faucets, bathroom sinks that are used for teeth brushing, etc. Also remember that these rounds of sampling are required whether a facility is on well or town city water. This testing requirement is in addition to other testing requirements that a PWS may be completing. These points haven't changed, but they're just important to mention. The second change is that the allowable lead concentration has decreased from 15 parts per billion to 5 parts per billion. What that means is that a facility will now have to remediate any outlet that tests at 5 parts per billion or higher. The third change is that sample results must be submitted to NHDES. And the fourth change is that remediation must be submitted to NHDES for sample results at or above that 5 part per billion mark. So the first major change is the rounds of sampling. So facilities should complete 3 rounds of sampling by the time we've gotten to June 30th, 2024. There should be at least 6 months between each round. And most facilities are on or ready for round 2 because the sampling that you've done since 2016 does count as round 1 sampling. Moving on to the second change, we have the lowering of the allowable lead concentration. So with changes from HB 1421, any drinking water outlet that tests at 5 parts per billion or higher in the future or from previous rounds of sampling must be remediated and reported to NHDES. So there are two big takeaways here. The first one is that the lead concentration has dropped from 15 parts per billion, which is how lead is measured, to 5 parts per billion. Number two, this change does pertain to previous rounds of sampling. So this means as a facility, you should go back and take a look at your previous lead sample results and see if there are any outlets that tested at 5 parts per billion or higher that now need to be remediated and reported to NHDES. There is no safe level of lead in drinking water. The last couple of key changes we're going to review are about reporting sample results and remediation actions to NHDES. Facilities that have never done any sampling for lead in drinking water are required to initiate sampling by August 8th, which I know has already passed, but enrolling in the program will still initiate that sampling for your facility. Facilities with past sample results at or above 5 parts per billion have until October 8th, 2022 to report remediation actions to NHDES. For future rounds of sampling with this program, it is still a facility's responsibility to review results and report remediation actions to NHDES through the remediation reporting form, which you can see a short snippet here on the right. A lot of you might actually recognize this already as you have been turning in remediation information. So now that we have reviewed some of the key legislative changes, let's take a look at enrolling in the free Get the Lead Out of Drinking Water program. You can enroll in the program to receive technical and financial assistance if eligible. It only takes a couple of minutes. You can follow this QR code or go to gettheleadoutnh.org. Scroll down to the big blue bar that says Resources for Schools and Childcare Facilities. Find the enrollment link on the right. And after enrolling, you will complete an outlet inventory. So this is going to be when you identify the number of drinking water outlets that should be sampled at your facility. We also offer training videos and materials at gettheleadoutnh.org. Really, anybody can sample, and if you have any questions, you are always welcome to email or call the helpline, and you do have to enroll to get that sample kit. So let's take a look at some of the program features. For every participant, we do offer technical support and other benefits like a helpline to answer questions, communication templates for parents and community members, sample instructions, how-to videos, educational resources, and general information about lead in drinking water. We do have free lead analysis from the EPA WIN grant for public schools and licensed childcare programs. And we have other funding mechanisms as well, like a 50% lead remediation grant for public and non-public schools that is available until the end of the year. And facilities can apply for this separately or as an SAU. So as we discussed before, facilities do need to go back and remediate any outlets that tested at 5 parts per billion or higher. So there are several options to properly remediate a drinking water source. Here are some examples of remediation from less to a little bit more complex. The first is hanging signage. If an outlet doesn't need to be used for drinking, you can post signs saying do not drink or use for food prep or hand wash only. The second example that you see here was a facility that fit a under sink filter. The third is of plumbing corrections. And the fourth is an example of a facility that installed a filtered water bottle filling station with a filtered bubbler attached. We also have a remediation guide coming soon that will hopefully help you choose which actions might be best for your facility. And with that, I am going to put up my program contact information slide. So this is just going to be the helpline hours and the phone number. And then at the top, you'll see our info at gettheleadoutnh.org. That is our email inbox for if you have any questions. And I am going to hand it over to our moderator, Shannon.